Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Success Sadhana. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to a program today where we continue our Golden Monk lessons from the Golden Monk series. Today's topic is how to be open to bounteous gifts with our speaker, Vaish, a veteran Bhakti yogi, author, and former monk. We have 16 members on Zoom and 15 members on Facebook. Good afternoon, Vaish. Welcome back to another episode of Success Sadhana.
Oh, thank you so much, JM. I'm really glad to be back here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I've been moving around to different rooms because we have house guests here and new setup. So glad you can hear me. I'm happy to see everybody. Thank you very much for coming. And yeah, quite a claim we're making here today about receiving bounteous gifts. That sounds a bit audacious, doesn't it? Nonetheless, everything's possible if you have the right process. And that's much to the point of the title of this program, Success Sadhana. Sadhana means a practice. And first of all, of course, you have to know what you want. And according to what you want, there's a particular process to follow. So really the idea of discipline and following some process rather than going willy-nilly through life is one of the tenets of success. And the Golden Monk, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 500 years ago, taught that human beings are especially equipped with the abilities to pursue a path. It's pretty enlivening to know that we can improve ourselves, isn't it? Sometimes it seems a little hopeless because there are so many forces working against us. Just the resistance that comes from our own minds sometimes seems unwieldy, doesn't it, JM?
Yes, it does. It's relentless.
That's a good word, relentless. It's been there, according to the yoga wisdom literatures, not just in this life throughout, but also in other lives as well. It's one of the main factors that determines how successful we are. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says the mind can be the best friend or the worst enemy. Anybody here ever felt like your mind was your worst enemy? It's funny, you can just feel down but not notice that somebody's working against you, but can even help to notice that your mind is the one that's causing the problems, and then you can sort of move away from it to some degree. But according to the great teachers of yoga, the mind can be perfectly trained. And when it's in harmony and resonance with our higher purpose in life, then we can feel completely happy. JM, do you have any announcements you'd like to make before I continue, sally forth?
No, nothing today.
Okay, everyone. Is everyone okay? Charles, Rebecca, Eugene, Andy, Wolf's here, Ram's here, Luba's here, SN's here, Summer's here, fantastic. CK's here, Naveen's here, Subhadra's here, Jesse's here. Another Ram just came on, unless you have two computers running. Did I miss anybody? Mayank's here, Manisha's here. Great. Well, let's start off with a little bit of introspection, because just stopping for a moment in the day and observing what's going on with our own bodies and minds can be actually helpful. And we'll try out a mantra today. I introduced it last week, and it's actually a 4-syllable mantra, although it sounds like only 3. It's a very famous mantra, and it has the syllables Gora Anga. That's 4 syllables, Gora Anga. It's pronounced Gauranga. And This is a mantra that's been around for thousands of years that people have practiced chanting. You can chant it in your mind, you can chant it out loud. And today, let's try it. We'll go into a state of meditation, and then we'll try the Gauranga mantra. It puts us in touch with the avatar Gauranga, who brings us this complete clarity about our existential situation. So let's try sitting up a little straighter than we were a few seconds ago, and try closing your eyes, and then bring your attention to your breath, and try to make your breath even and relaxed, but keep an alert mind. And notice the in and out of your breathing. And any kind of burdensome ideas, anxieties you're carrying with you, just let them go. And just for a moment, be aware that you're aware. And be in the presence of your awareness without any outreach to the future or remembrance of the past. Just be right in the moment. Keep breathing in a nice even way and relax, but keep an alert mind. And now we use our vocal cords and tongue to vibrate a mantra, 4 syllables. I'll say it, and then if you'd like to pick it up and say it along with me, just listen to the sound of the mantra. Then the mantra will enter your ears, and you'll feel the effects of the mantra, which means it delivers us from the mind. Gauranga. 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 And now just feel the resonance that's come from the vibration of the mantra. And any energy that it's brought to your mental system. And bring your attention back to your breath. And rub your hands together and get some external sensation, and then open your eyes and come back into the room. Welcome back. What'd that feel like, Charles?
Hello, Hare Krishna. It felt amazing, actually. I feel that I was able to, as we were speaking, clear some of the thoughts in my mind and just feel peaceful within, even if it were for a small moment in the day. it's very precious because I think now in later times return to that when I need to. And yeah, it was an amazing experience for me. Thank you.
Oh, I like what you said about how you can return to it later on. Like you experience it maybe in the morning and then you go about your day, and you're a very busy person. And then at a certain point, you'll remember that moment when you were connecting with the mantra and you felt that peacefulness within. Is that what you were saying?
Right, right.
Nice, nice. It's there as a little jewel you can go back to, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot, Charles. What was it like mantra chanting for you, Rebecca?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. It was beautiful. It was lovely. Just like Charles said, it was so nice to tell myself I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have anything to do. Just sit here with myself and you guys. Just yeah, it was just that was beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, I like how you pointed out the mantra. You don't need much paraphernalia. You already got a free tongue and a couple of ears thrown in as part of the deal when you get this human body. And the mantra is completely portable. You can do this anywhere and recenter and come back into awareness that I'm not the material body, I'm not the mind. And the mantra is very powerful in lifting us above that maelstrom that is the material energy. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Manish, what was it like for you?
It is just like when you told to focus on breath, I first time realized in the day that I'm alive. Like most time it just goes in automation the day, like you wake up, you do all the routine works, but we forgot the essence that we are life more than all the external things. So it made me introspect.
Yeah, nice. Realizing that we are life, we are consciousness. A friend of mine was speaking recently about vitality and how we have to have vitality. And I really like that word, vital. It just means life. We're naturally and spontaneously attracted to beauty and creativity, but we can become overwhelmed by the mind and lose altitude. And we can also miss the bounteous, if I may wax poetical, gifts that come flowing to us every moment, but we're not able to take them because we're either out somewhere, we're in the future, we're in the past, and we're not able to grasp it in the moment. Nice, nice. Subhadra, any experience from your side?
Just a feeling of there's nothing I need to worry about, or just peace.
Yeah, it's when we look at our worries and notice what they actually are, it's some kind of energy flowing through our mental system. And when we're able to objectify them and see that just as clouds move through the sky, weather changes, so similarly, the various thought patterns in our minds might change. And the more we're able to introspect and actually see what they are, the more we're able to work in such a way that we're not disturbed with them. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about tolerance, and much of it is according to our perspective. If you get on a train and somebody takes your seat, if you're only going one stop, it's not a big deal. If you're going to be there for 3 days, it might be bigger. And the idea is we're all just passing through and everything comes and goes. So in the Gita, Krishna talks about the ways in which to be tolerant by seeing that this too will pass. Everything passes by in due course of time. The time factor is so subtle. Air is very subtle, but we can kind of see it working. It's rustling the leaves, it's pushing things around, but the time energy, it's invisible to us. All we see is at intervals, various changes taking place by the force of time, and we're all being pushed along by it. It's the most powerful energy, but hard to actually notice it in the moment because it's so subtle. Well, thanks for sharing, everybody. And now let's take a little opportunity to discuss some of the philosophy, the perspective of those who were practicing the success sadhana of bhakti very thoroughly. And the great teacher calling the golden monk was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago. And here are a few thoughts. So today's talk is based on an incident that took place in the history of the golden monk. You know, monks, they take to monkhood at a certain point from somebody else who's a monk. It's called sannyas. So Chaitanya took this vow of sannyas, which meant he would just live as a monk very simply and try to help other people in the best possible way, and not be absorbed in any worldly matters, but trying to use everything for an enlightened purpose. And so we'll show a few slides. The golden monk had taken this vow of sannyas and monkhood, and he went off with some of his followers and then turned around and asked them if they had brought anything with them. They were going on a bit of a journey. And they all said, no, you didn't ask us to bring anything, so we didn't bring anything. And he said, very good, because I want everyone to observe how the world is filled up with both food and money and wealth, but you can only get a certain amount according to what you're in position to receive. Have you ever thought about that? I mean, there's abundance everywhere, but why doesn't everyone have everything they want? Is it, why isn't it all attainable, everything we possibly want? Does anybody have any thoughts? I mean, it's all there. Why can't you just take it? Yes, Rebecca, what do you think?
Because we have no desire trees here in the material world.
Yeah, well, you know, even if there are resources available to us, but why wouldn't be able to take it? In other words, the golden monk pointed out to his followers, look, there's abundance everywhere, but not everybody gets it. Some people live in situations where they're hankering for things, but they just can't get it. Charles, what do you think? I saw your smile. That's why I'm calling.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm happy to chime in here. I don't know. I think it's just an interesting phenomenon, right? So as you're saying it, it's making me kind of giggle, I guess. But yeah, I think there, and this might sound a little strange, but that, you know, just like there are physical laws for things, we can clearly see, like, you know, gravity working or something like that. There are just other laws in terms of how the world operates, and it's sometimes hard to understand these things because we can't see them, but I think that's a clear example of it happening. You see it across cultures, across the world. So I think there's something there that I don't understand it, but I think it's accurate.
Wow, nice. Yeah, you said it's like a law of in the universe, right? And Rebecca put in the chat box, is it our karma? And Mayank said, in my humble opinion, because we do not own anything in the material world, you can only get what your karma allows. Yeah, both in sync there. I think all three of you. This is one of the teachings of the wisdom literatures, that we don't get what we want, we get what we deserve. And there's a way of positioning ourselves in such a way that we can live in abundance. Now, of course, I'm not talking about material prosperity necessarily, and I'll get more into that, because as you've heard me say many times, quoting from various books like the Bhagavad Gita, and we all have our own realization of this, life's not about accumulating things. They don't make us happy necessarily unless we know how to use them. For instance, if you don't know how to use money or have a really good purpose for it, as soon as you get it, it becomes a burden. You're just thinking about how to preserve it so it doesn't all get taken from you. And it will drain out of your account one way or the other. But if you have a really good purpose for it, then you'll be able to utilize it. It's the same with any energy. If we know what to do with it, we have an enlightened purpose for it, then it becomes an asset for us. Mukta said, I see it provides an opportunity to work for it if we want. Yeah, and this is a lot of what Success Sadhana is about, is preparing ourselves to be in position to not just see opportunities and the gifts of the world, but also to receive them, to be grateful receivers. I'll say one thing about that. I was just having a conversation with a colleague, and we were looking at the ways in which when we feel entitled, that we can't feel gratitude. If you think you deserve everything, then you can't feel grateful for anything when you get it. Whatever you think you deserve or you're entitled to, then you can't feel grateful for it. And we miss so much because of feeling entitled. But even if we do feel entitled, doesn't mean we're going to get things. There is a law of karma, and it says that according to our past activities, we can receive various good and bad situations. We will be in certain good and bad situations according to our momentum from our past. So an example that's given often is if you have a grain silo and you put in some bad grains and then some good grains on top of it, and then some more bad grains, when you're taking it out later, then you might say, oh, there's bad grains, and now I'm getting good grains, and now there's some bad grains. It's alternating. So why is that? So, well, that's what you put in. This is one of the ideas of karma. It's our own activities coming back to us so that we have a sense of our own responsibility. Whatever we do comes back to us. Oh, thanks, everybody. It's nice realizations. Let's look at a few slides and see the practicalities, some of the psychology and practicality. So be a receiver. How can you receive? Sometimes it's very hard for some people to receive because they may feel unworthy, or they may don't want to feel obligated. But oftentimes there are people offering things that have great value, and there are not that many takers, whether it be an idea or maybe even in the material realm. Not everybody can accept valuable gifts. So how to become a better receiver is one of the topics. And what does it mean? Able to take. Receiving means able to take. Are you able to take in the gifts that are available? This is one of my favorite quotes from Louis Pasteur. The way I heard it first is at the top. Great discoveries come only unto the prepared mind. Great discoveries come only unto the prepared mind. I think of this often, and we'll come into the Zoom room just for a second because I'd like to hear if you have any thoughts about that. When you're preparing yourself for, let's just say, a particular subject, you're studying it and looking into the details, then, I don't know, maybe just if you're aware of a certain kind of phenomena in nature, and you're studying what makes it work, the ecological system, then you might, as you're moving around the world, be aware of it. Or my sister was a geologist, and whenever I go on a hike with her, she'd, because her mind was prepared, anything she'd look at in the landscape, she'd identify and say, oh, this used to be a riverbed, or there's likely some water underneath the ground here because of the way the land's formed in this area. Trained eye, trained mind sees opportunities and sees things that other people don't see. But great discoveries, they come only unto the prepared mind. Just wonder if any of you have any take on that particular topic, or that that quotation, how does it make you feel? What do you think of when you hear that? That great discoveries come only under the prepared mind. Does it make you want to prepare your mind more? Or have you experienced that phenomena that I'm discussing? Jaya?
I was just thinking that the entire success sadhana we started was because of how last few years we have been investing in making sure the digital platform was in place. And even today, like generally, Shweka helps me out in going live so that I have some breathing room to go, like we coordinate the before program process. But today, for some reason, she was not there. But I always keep my second laptop next to me so that if in such situation, I can quickly log into there and I go live stream from there and I can manage here. So that's why you saw some initial double sound, volume, etc. So I think it's a practice, and as long as you pay attention, I think that's important to you. Then you are prepared, and as soon as then suddenly it feels like Supreme suddenly presented an opportunity for all the things you have been prepared for that you can take advantage of, and that looks like luck. That looks like chance, whatever. But it was not luck. There is a lot of what was behind it before it became a luck.
Wow, really practical. Yeah, nice points. Thank you very much, Jay. And we got Charles.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say I really like JM's example because not only did his preparedness pick himself up, right, but it also helped us all in terms of being able to start the class on time and everything. So just wanted to add that, like having that clear mind and being able to see opportunities, you can really uplift others as well with that.
Yeah, if you're around those who aren't prepared, then it can waylay your progress as well if you're depending on them, right? Yeah, nice. Rebecca.
It made me think about like what would be an unprepared mind. So I thought maybe like an unprepared mind is a mind that's all over the place that you have no discipline or control over. How can you focus long enough to have a great discovery? So it made me think about the monkey mind, the unprepared mind.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And by default, the Bhagavad Gita and the Yoga Sutra says the mind tends to, when undisciplined, gravitate towards darker energies. It just sort of spirals down. Yes, JM?
Now, I was just thinking maybe that also, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that also may play a part in whether you're grateful or you complain. In the sense, if I was assuming or expecting, no, Shweka will be here, if she's supposed to do this, and then I'll be complaining she's not here, we went late and this and that, etc. Or I'm so grateful that I had my second laptop and I've got go live. Like, it's just maybe how you take it would be different as well, whether you complain because you're entitled or you're grateful that you are prepared and you saved yourself.
Yeah, there's so many implications from being prepared or not being prepared. One of the most famous books on the practice of bhakti yoga, which is really the yoga of gratitude, starts with gratitude, is a circumstance in which somebody's preparing for the next life. I mean, what if you look at this lifetime as a preparation for leaving the world? It's only a launch pad. We're just leaving from this place. In fact, that's the way that book I'm referring to sets it up, and just says that really this body we have now, the situation we're in now, is a preparatory stage. It's not the all in all. It's not the final destination. It's just one step towards the higher destination that we're aiming for. And if we have that, we might think differently about everything that happens to us. Just as JM was saying, because you're preparing yourself in many different ways, even if adversity comes, you might think, oh, this is a great opportunity to get more prepared, right? And look, Turtle's got some really good stuff here. What is it, JM?
Yeah. So Atul says that's one of my favorite concepts. Takes the pressure off.
Yeah, can you say more about taking the pressure off? Just expand that, maybe a few sentences.
So I guess it just, we can get really caught up in our life here and what we're doing and what we think we're doing and, what we think we're building. And I think we get caught up in the container, the beginning and the end of it, right? And so if you think of this as just a stepping stone or just part of a much bigger picture, it takes that pressure off. It relieves so much of this need to make something happen right now in this life.
Yeah, it's such a good point. So many self-imposed goals, thinking that unless I perform in a certain way right now, that I've failed. I see this a lot in various circumstances, and people think that, oh, I can't live up to the mark, and say, well, just change the definition of what you see success as. And if you're looking at this lifetime and more as a preparation, whatever happens to you is helping you get more prepared, then I can see how that takes a lot of pressure off. Charles has got more.
Oh, yeah. I was just
Something I
wondering if you could
referred
share
to.
the.
Oh, please
Oh,
go ahead.
yeah, I was just wondering if you could share the name of the book you're referring to in terms of using talks about this, using this life as a stepping stone for the next, and using this one for preparation.
That was my particular metaphor I used, but
Okay.
Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the one I was referring to because it's about a king who has 7 days to live. And his main question is, what do I do with the 7 days? In fact, we set up a booth when actually, there's a group I work with in London, and they set up a booth, and it had this theme. Actually, they were offering the book, the Srimad Bhagavatam, to people, but the theme of the booth was, what would you do if you had 7 days left? What would you do with the 7 days? And so that people would come in and they'd talk about it in like kind of a focus group, say, what would I do with my last 7 days? Because that's the topic of the book. And when you have that context that I only have a short amount of time, then what am I doing? Should I be preparing, or should I just let whatever happens happen? So there's a whole science behind that in the Bhagavad Gita also, that describes how when we leave this present platform that we're on, which is a particular body that we're in, then it's the aggregate of the consciousness that we've developed by cultivation or just by randomly letting everything fall into place that drives us to our next destination. We're so much more responsible for where we end up than we may know. And that's one of the themes of the yoga teachings, is that we're a lot more powerful than we think. And that can be a little daunting, because then we think, well, wow, I have some responsibility in this. There's a few more comments. If you can trace out the chronology of those, JL, I'd be appreciative.
Yeah. So, I mean, Turtle said, even in our spiritual evolution, I think people get caught up in speeding that up somehow.
Oh, I like that one a lot, Turtle, because, I've had some realization in cooking. And sometimes if I'm not in the right mood to cook, and I try to speed up the process, think I'll go a little faster than the recipe says, then, it's chemistry. It doesn't work out right. You have to be patient and let it cook. And I like that point about evolving and about evolution, spiritual evolution, and also trying to speed things up, find shortcuts. It may be that you end up half-baked, as the cliche goes. Oh, look, we've got, okay, say it.
Marilia. Marilia.
Marilia. Why do I get so caught up? It's hard for me to say that, but Marilia.
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 You're on mute. You're on mute, actually. Sorry, you're on mute.
Marriage year.
Ha, here I am talking to you and you couldn't even hear me. So yes, it's pronounced Marilia, like Marie and then Leah, but put together.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. I guess I was fortunate enough to get one of those very uncommon names. I was wondering what your thoughts are on a particular question that I have. Everyone has a different opinion, I know, and I respect yours. And so I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are on, I have a particular situation that I'm in. And up to this point, for the last 14 years, I've been giving unconditional love to a family member who has been regularly abusive to me without cause. Let's just say that in general. And so in return, I've given unconditional love just because of who I am. But now that it's been an accumulation of years, I have certain close family members and close friends who are guiding me in a different direction, saying that I do not deserve to be treated this way, that we teach people how to treat us by not allowing that type of behavior or that person in our life should they continue this action against us. But then there's the other flip side of the coin where people have free will and the option to be who they choose to be to their own lives and to others. So do we just continue giving unconditional love and receive cruel, hurtful treatment in return and continue keeping this person in our lives? Do we continue giving unconditional love? What is the ultimate, I think the ultimate gift in the end of our journey is by being who we choose to be and giving unconditional love is my thought.
Thank you for such a important question.
I'm sorry it was lengthy.
Not at all. I think whatever you said was necessary to express it. That the two concepts aren't mutually exclusive. Unconditional love doesn't preclude making some boundaries with people. As parents, if you completely spoil a child and just write it off to unconditional love, then when they're completely spoiled child can't have gratitude because they think that they deserve everything. And if there's a sense of boundaries for a child imposed by the parent, then child develops some fortitude, internal fortitude and sense of values and so forth. And, we find this anywhere. Somebody who's a good coach or mentor has a sense of how to guide us with boundaries. And so the idea of giving unconditional love works everywhere, but then it's a matter of defining what that looks like. And oftentimes with somebody who's so used to being in themselves, or they can't help themselves which leads to abuse of other people's time or physical abuse and so forth. Unless there's some boundaries that we make for ourselves, then first of all, it becomes onerous for us just to take that all the time with no end in sight. And second of all, it doesn't necessarily help them. If there's a point at which they will be helped, they need to know that the person who loves them also has their boundaries and that you have to adhere to those in order to engage in the relationship. So just since you asked for my advice, I would
well, you
say
were right on point. It is a child that was spoiled beyond words, but she is now 28 and carries those self-entitlement, lack of appreciation and gratitude and respect behaviors as she's grown into adulthood. And she holds the link between me and my grandchildren of me being able to connect with them or not. So I'm in a tight spot because if well, I've tried to set boundaries before. She demands I respect her boundaries, but will not respect not even a one of mine. And she is the link between me and especially my granddaughter, who I've been like a mother to for the last almost 7 years. And so I have to tread lightly. And I don't know which direction to turn because I want to do the right thing. I don't want to sever the only link between me and my granddaughter. So I feel that my only option is to continue to be cruelly treated for the next 6 to 7 years until grandbaby girl is old enough to say, I'm going to go visit grandma.
Hmm. Well, it's an interesting balance point, but we got some other comments here. One from Jesse saying, just my 2 cents, boundaries can be a form of love too. And it may be a better example for the child ultimately as well, to say that there, to see that there was some sense of boundary as well. That's something that requires a little time and thought, and I think you're working on it.
So I haven't texted her since July 28th, showing my boundary that I won't be treated that way and you need to call and apologize for this last behavior.
Subhadra put a link also here, Codependence Anonymous 12-step program. Anyway, lots of people have these kind of intractable situations, but it's nice to have association with people who also have those and find some nuance.
Yeah.
And, time changes people and situations also. So that's
hang
helpful.
on tight, huh?
Yeah, hang on tight.
Thank you.
Hey, Jam, let's look at a couple more slides. So this idea of preparation is important in all aspects of our life. If we're not prepared, great ideas, opportunities will pass by. Have you ever had the experience where a good idea came to you and you thought, oh, I'll grab it later, and then you couldn't remember what it was? For that reason, just symbolically, not symbolically, but very practically, everywhere I go, I always carry a small pad and a pen. I don't leave the house or practically the room without it, because if a good idea comes and I don't take it, then I've missed a great opportunity. And that sort of represents the lifestyle of preparation, always being prepared. Because as a great thinker once said, Chanakya Pandit, that 1 second of human life can't be purchased back with millions of dollars. If you lose 1 second, one opportunity, it's inestimably detrimental. So be prepared. And then the next slide shows this idea of deciding what's most valuable. And this is one of the most important aspects. Are they the qualities in that we develop in ourselves, or things? Very interestingly, as I said before, we get what we deserve. And those who develop high-minded qualities, or exalted qualities, I think is a better word, and through refinement of themselves, that everything necessary and more abundance becomes available to such persons. One of the interesting aspects of that, almost paradoxical, is that one of the ways that we become most abundant and wealthy is not needing anything, because needs and wants are unlimited. And this is the feature of material desire, that no matter what I get, I need more. It's not enough, and it's not completely satisfying. So when I'm able to develop this sense of inner satisfaction and develop a sense of gratitude for whatever I do get, then I'm actually the wealthiest person. Others who have unlimited things at their disposal and don't appreciate them are in no better position. The person who's got inner balance and peace is in the best position. So this is what the process the Golden Monk taught. We're supposed to work on ourselves and develop these good qualities. JM, do you think we go to the next one? Here's the preparation. Know what's most valuable. So this is called Vivek. Let's hear what some of the participants have said in the box before I go and launch into this next one. JM, could you tell me what's going on?
Yes. Charles says qualities, and I have been asking myself recently, what are the most important qualities to have?
Yeah, that's a good question to ask. Just to observe what qualities we do have and then see how can I refine them. And I'll talk about that in a moment. And what else, JM?
Next is Turtle says, this is huge. I've spent the better part of this year realizing how I prioritize things in my life.
It's huge that you're spending time to prioritize, right? Yeah, it's so important because we only get a set amount of time in this life. It's called Ayu. Along with our birth, according to Patanjali Muni in the Yoga Sutras, we get a certain kind of karma, and we also get a certain lifespan. It's already set up. And so that's ticking down the moment we get this body. And therefore, to have idea what my priorities are is really important.
Those are the two ones which came.
Okay. All right, let's go back to that slide. It's a jumping off point for this preparation conversation. So how to prepare. And it is very important to develop this vivek or discrimination about what's most important. Is this body important? Well, yeah, it's very important because we're in it. So we have to take care of it. If you're in so much pain that you can't concentrate, that's very difficult. And also, we need the body to use as an instrument. But if I think that the body is the all in all, and I forget about the fact that I'm the one animating the body, I'm a spiritual essence within the body, that is actually the substantial aspect of the body and soul combination. It's not that the body's substantial, the body falls apart constantly, and the only reason it's maintained is because I'm in the body. So what's most valuable is what we go for when there's a flood or a fire. We run in and save all the living beings. We'll save our puppy or kitten, or obviously the residents of the house that are human. We'll get them out first before we take other things. So the spiritual essence is the most valuable. And then knowing what's most valuable to us and learning to see and grab onto those opportunities when they come. Again, Louis Pasteur, great discoveries come only unto the prepared mind. So if we don't know what's most valuable for us, to us, if it comes, we may not be able to grab it because we just don't see it. One of the teachings of the Golden Monk is that association with spiritually advanced people is the most valuable thing that you can get. But if you haven't made that a priority, you might not even notice that somebody is advanced, and then you may not take advantage of it. You may stay home and watch television instead, and then you miss that opportunity. And then third is to have a process to take advantage of the things that you get. So that's what sadhana is about. You're able to employ it in your life, enact it in your life, which means that you have a daily way of consuming that. So as an example, in the practice of bhakti yoga, we take advantage of certain practices that you can do every day that reform yourself, they clean your mind. As an example, the Golden Monk taught that this process of chanting a spiritual mantra, it cleans the heart and mind. He said, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, which means that the mind is like a mirror and it gets dirty or distorted and we can't see ourselves properly, and therefore we become confused. However, when you employ the mantra, in your life. It's a spiritual process. Get 2 free ears and a tongue thrown in with the material body, comes as standard equipment. You can use it in a determined way. And by that, you cleanse the mirror of the heart and mind. And you're able to see things clearly. So that's an enactment right there. So if you're able to cultivate knowledge of that, and you see the opportunity and you take it, you integrate it into your life, then you'll be able to grab the wealth that's available to you, the real abundance, which is described in the Bhagavad Gita. The student of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is Arjuna. And he asks this really interesting question. He says, what's the symptom of somebody who's fixed in consciousness? The opposite of that is, I think, what Rebecca referred to as the monkey mind. It's just the monkeys. If you don't know monkeys, they're really rambunctious. I know a lot of monkeys because I lived in India for a long time. And, when you go out, you have to make sure that you don't wear glasses when you walk past them, because they'll jump and grab them off your face. And I mean, they do all kinds of crazy stuff. They're constantly fighting, especially the rhesus monkeys. There are others, the langurs, they're a little more peaceful. They're enemies, by the way, too. I won't get into that now. But the idea is that the mind can be reformed. And so Krishna says, here are the symptoms of somebody who's coming to steady consciousness, which you can do by preparation, by practice. He says that you're able to withdraw the senses when they're not needed. The mind you don't feel compelled to grab onto all the ideas that the mind produces in front of you. Like, has your mind ever given you a bad idea? Let's just ask that. Anyone? Did you ever grab onto it and then wish you hadn't? Like, it tells you something and then you, thanks, Rebecca. And then you say something and then you wish you hadn't said it. Yeah, a person who's in steady consciousness, in fixed consciousness called nishta, it doesn't feel pushed by that. The anger, the impulse of anger, it doesn't go anywhere. It may come up, but they don't feel that they're not obligated to go along with it, to embrace that energy. So there's that. And then he said something else. So I'll say the Sanskrit because it helps me remember what he said. He said, Prajahati yadakaman sarvapartan manogatan atman yeva manatushta stita pragnasta dochite, which means that the person fixed in consciousness is somebody who doesn't have to chase after the impulses of the mind and also feels satisfaction within their own selves. There's a sense of natural happiness that's there when somebody touches the spiritual platform. And when you have that inner happiness, it's like being full. You feel full, so you don't have to chase anything. You don't have to get a new thing to feel worthy in life. You don't even need somebody to give you an accolade and say, oh, you're a good person, to feel happy. You're already happy. You feel full in yourself. So this is a very understandable kind of set of criteria for seeing whether we're in that kind of consciousness or not. So we can prepare for that, know what's most valuable, learn to see and seize opportunities when they come, be very proactive in the preparation, and then have a process to enact them. Even if it's a simple process, it'll be effective. Okay, JM, let's see. Here's a few qualities that prepare you to receive. Hunger means eagerness. If you're eager for something, then you're able to take advantage of it. Just like if there's good food, if you're not hungry, you can't take advantage of it, right? Have you ever been invited to somebody's house and you know that really good cook, and you know they're going to feed you sumptuously? If you haven't, I'll introduce you to a few of my friends. And so if you eat a bunch of junk before you go to their house and you sit down and they bring you this beautiful meal, then you'll say, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm not hungry. Why are you hungry? Oh, I just don't have an appetite. You might be embarrassed to tell them you already ate before you came over. That was foolish. Go over there hungry. Be as hungry as possible, because then you can really take advantage. So it's like that. The Golden Monk said in our lives, be hungry. He called it lullium. Have this almost like greed or intense hunger for learning and to make spiritual advancement. Then he also said, be humble. And he gave the example of a tree. A tree is always a giver, and it always is there for service, and it tolerates. It's very humble. And then he gave the example of being, taking what's called tapasya, or being on the edge. Don't always take your comfort zone and just the convenience, but try to do things in such a way that you're in a learning mode rather than in a comfort mode. And these are ways to live so that you can receive the abundant gifts of the world. And remember that everything moves from subtle to gross. If you showed the last slide, my good friend, colleague was in town, staying with me here. Every time he visits here from his world tours, we go off to a place near San Francisco called Muir Woods. We spend the day there. And, you know, we just walked into the Muir Woods Park just as the ranger was giving a talk, about a 10-minute talk. And she asked the crowd that was there, about 30 people listening, how big the seed pod is on a giant redwood tree. And she said, do you think it's this big or this big or this big? And people had all kinds of guesses. And then she pulled one out, and it was this big. And within that little cone, pine cone, there are hundreds of tiny little seeds, no bigger than a little oat flake. The giant redwood, this tiny, tiny little seed. So all the kinds of ideas that we take in, the practices that we employ that are meant for refining ourselves, they start in the smallest possible way, this tiny little seed. But if we take advantage of it while we have the opportunity, don't wait till it's too late, then we water it, we employ the process, it'll grow into something really amazing. And that's why human life is so exciting. We can do that. So don't settle for the status quo. Don't settle for what the mind and senses dictate to you, but take higher direction to move into the realm of discipline. Interestingly to me, the word discipline comes from a Latin word which means learner. It means learner. So if you want to learn, if you want to grow, if you want to receive, you have to prepare yourself, the Golden Monk said. And if you're prepared, then there's unlimited gifts, bounteous gifts that come flowing into your life from every direction, the best of which are good association with very high-minded people. That's what actually fills up the soul, is what's called satsanga, or association with people who are true to their vows and who have very high qualities. And that is all for today. Thank you very much, JM, for always being there for us. Whether you have help or not help, you're always prepared. You got 2 computers ready to go. Thanks, everybody, for all the amazing contributions that you made today, discussions and bringing up scenarios we have to think about, because we're all in it together one way or another. And this kind of discussion actually prepares us for all types of situations in our life. And it feels better together, doesn't it? Yeah, thanks a lot. Harushi, great to have you here. Andy, oh, they're coming so fast now. Debbie, thank you. Turtle, great to have you here. Rebecca, as usual, thank you. Jesse, fantastic. Sundar's here. Well, that's always good news. We used to go together in person to the programs down at Salesforce and Google. Because back in the old days, remember the old days, everybody, before the pandemic, when we used to get together in one room? Yeah. Anyway,
Bill, I want to say thank you so much. You're giving us the true manual for life, and I really can't think of a better thing to receive. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Charles. I'm just trying to imbibe it myself and listening to it along with you as I say it, because I'm just speaking what I'm hearing from those who are actually advanced and from these wisdom literatures. Well, JM, you know, I think we did confirm that we got several reports from the Himalaya that the yogis in caves, they have to come out sooner or later to get fruits and roots. And when they do, you can imagine how bright it is outside, out of their cave, and then how they're feeling. That's yes, I'm working for a worthy cause, refining my consciousness. And then they see a colleague way up at another high peak doing the same thing. And so they get really joyful, actually. And they raise their hands way in the air, high in the air, and they call out this phrase, Haribol, which means keep the Tresel vibration. It's a good way to encourage people. Maybe we can try it as we take off here. We'll do what the yogis in caves do. Haribol!
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 Haribol!